Hi, my name is Tarek Mulder. I'm doing my rhetorical critique on Adolf Hitler's speech, Germany Can No Longer Remain Idle. This speech was done on September 1st of 1939. He gave this speech as an announcement that Germany was invading Poland, and the speech takes place right before World War II. I plan on analyzing Hitler's rhetorical strategies, not endorsing his views. I would say that Hitler's speech skillfully uses emotional appeal, moral framing, and manipulation of ethos to justify aggression under the disguise of defense. So basically, he is attacking Poland and saying that Poland attacked Germany first. The historical background was that Germany wanted to expand, really Hitler wanted to expand, and they feel like they're being restricted from doing that. The tensions at Poland were, the tensions with Poland were at an all-time high, like when he gave the speech, and Hitler claims that Germany has tried again and again to bring about a peaceful understanding through his proposals. And Germany is not liking the Treaty of Versailles at this time. They're feeling the post-Versailles Treaty resentment. They generally think the treaty is unfair. When talking about the Treaty of Versailles, two quotes really stick out to me from the speech. The first being, "One thing is impossible, that an impossible situation be settled by way of peace, revision, and then absolutely decline this revision." I would say this is a huge moment where Hitler is saying, like, we must use violence if the enemy is using violence and not peace. And then he goes on to justify his actions of attacking Poland, of using violence, and he says, "It is also impossible to say that he who, in such a situation, takes revision into his own hands is violating law, for Versailles is no law for German people." Basically, kind of ignoring the Treaty of Versailles, saying it doesn't apply to them because it's unfair. Another quote that kind of stuck out to me was, "I formulated the German proposals, and I must repeat once more, there could be nothing fair or more modest than these proposals." Going back to what I said earlier, Hitler thought that he gave fair proposals, or he presented fair proposals to other countries, and they were declined, just basically saying how he's trying to be peaceful and fair before resulting to violence. His audience is the German public. The speech was a broadcast via radio, and it was an attempt to unify the nation and justify war. And by justifying war, meaning Hitler's main goal was to justify the invasion of Poland. Pretty early in the speech, Hitler tries to frame Germany as the victim, like I mentioned before, and the quote that goes with this is, "And above all, the German minority living there was mistreated in the most fearful fashion." So he uses words like minority there and mistreated to, frame the Germans as the victims. Also saying, quote, "It is impossible to force someone at pistol's point and threat, let millions starve to death, and then proclaim a solemn law document with a thusly enforced signature." So once again saying that the Germans are the victim and that they're being held as the victim through the Treaty of Versailles. He also mentions how he tried to formulate peaceful proposals, but all of his proposals were denied. The main thing was the proposals. When looking at ethos in Hitler's speech, Hitler does a great job constructing authority and trust. He really does a great job presenting himself as a reluctant leader, kind of being forced into war rather than actively seeking war, which is a lie because Hitler wanted to attack Poland. He claims moral high ground by saying he sought peace until the last hour. Like I said, he claims that he was trying to be peaceful Also not true. He uses formal, authoritative tone to appear rational and dignified. His tone was very authoritative. And Hitler builds national ethos, and he identifies himself as the voice of Germany's destiny, which, I mean, in a sense, he was. All this is being said to show that his ethos was very manipulative, and his credibility was built through lies and propaganda. And the only people that kind of believed what he had to say was the Germans and no other countries. And to kind of conclude off of that, Hitler does a great job of emotional manipulation. When looking at pathos in Hitler's speech, some emotions he appeals to are fear, anger, resentment, pride, and unity. Pride being one that stuck out to me. A quote that is connected to Hitler's pride is, "I, therefore, again put on the uniform which once had been most sacred and dearest to me. I will take it off only after victory," saying, I mean, it speaks for itself. He's either going to win or die in his uniform. His tone is also very dramatic, and he creates emotional urgency and moral justification for war. Relating back to the Treaty of Versailles, he calls it a torturing problem. When looking at logos in Hitler's speech, he claims that Germany was attacked first, therefore attacking Poland and starting the Second World War is justified as self-defense. He uses logical fallacies such as false cause by blaming Poland for the war, and appealed to necessity by saying Germany, quote, had no choice. That is obviously not true. Hitler was actively trying to attack them, but he does a great job lying to the general public. Rhetorical techniques he used was reinforcing the key themes of peace, patience, and justice. And like I've said multiple times, Hitler frames Poland as evil and Germany as righteous. A quote that goes with that is, about 1 million people of German blood were forced to leave their homeland in 1919 and 1920. Basically being said that he tried to achieve alteration through peaceful proposal and revision, leading him to using violence. And then another quote is that stuck out to me was, he said, then Germany could no longer remain idle. He gave Poland a warning, but did not truly give them a chance to do anything because he planned on attacking them anyways. And it's ironically the title of the speech. He creates a shared identity by using words like we and our nation. And that was a huge focus in Hitler's speech because he wanted like the Germans to unite and attack like the other countries together. Sacrifice. Another quote is, sacrifice which is asked of us is no greater than that which has been asked of others. Going back to that shared identity, he's basically saying he's not asking more from Germans now than what he did before. He's saying that it's the same level of sacrifice for their country. Since it's kind of like a new world war, he wanted to clarify that. And then also in the speech, he tells German people that he's willing to sacrifice and die for his country, and that they should do that too. And then he talks about like what would happen if you're against the country. He says, quote, traitors can expect nothing but death. That's the quote, and it basically meaning if you don't support Hitler, you're gonna die. And then another quote is, we all recognize an old fundamental principle. It is totally unimportant whether we live, but it is essential that Germany lives. Kind of following up on that, like he's saying that Germany is the only thing that matters. Like Germany, your country should be more important than your own life. And this quote emphasizes the importance of Germany coming first and also highlights his focus of German patriotism. Hitler also makes sure to mention the past. By the past, I mean World War One. He says, I therefore want to assure the entire world that November 1918 will never be repeated again in German history. That's a time when Germany lost to World War One. He talked for millions of Germans, saying these proposals were rejected. Going back to the proposals, when he says the proposals were rejected, that means the Germans were rejected. Saying not only were his proposals denied, but Germany was targeted, scrutinized, and attacked. He uses mythic language referencing destiny, survival, and honor, and this kind of all revolves around kind of giving Germans like hope, and like optimism that they're gonna win, and like they're destined to win World War II. Hitler was a king of propaganda. He blurred the truth to make himself and Germany look good. Hitler references to women and children multiple times in his speech, saying that the women and children have been treated poorly since the end of World War I, and that he claims that he won't kill mother and children unless the enemy is doing so. And then it's a direct lie, because he goes on to kill tens and thousands of women and children. I would say overall the speech was very effective. In the short term, it was highly effective. He rallied support and reduced doubt. He instilled confidence in the public by saying Germany is far more prepared for World War II than it was for World War I. Internationally, his speech was looked at as a joke. It was rejected and recognized as propaganda. Looking at this now, I would say it demonstrates how emotional and moral framing can distort the truth and justify violence. The lesson learned from this speech is that it shows the power and danger of rhetorical persuasion in authoritarian regimes. If you put people with that mindset in a position with that much power, there's no telling what they could do. Hitler shows how rhetoric can mask aggression as morality, and like his biggest thing, if I was like sum up his biggest point, was to make Germans feel like they were the victim when in fact they were the aggressors. So to conclude, I would say that Hitler's words remind us that rhetoric is never neutral. It can build nations or destroy them, and in Hitler's case, he was trying to destroy them. Thank you for listening.